Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, Fearless Freedom family. Oh my, we have quite a treat today. We have two mom entrepreneurs who have an amazing company that you guys should know all about. We have Nikki and Joanne, and they're going to talk with you today about what got them started on this amazing journey and what they are up to. Joanne and Nikki?
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki. So Befree was started and inspired by my daughter, Stella, who has cerebral palsy. She, at the age of 5, had bilateral hip surgery, hamstring and calf lengthening. When we were at her pre-op appointment and just talking with her surgeon, asking what families typically dress their children in over the course of their recovery, he really didn't have an answer for me. He basically said, long dresses, t-shirts, blankets, and that just sounded miserable to me. And knowing my daughter, who has a lot of anxiety, and knowing that even just visually seeing and looking at casts on her would be very stressful for her, I basically went out and bought her a pair of Life is Good pajamas, as happy as I could make them, and took apart the outer seam of the pant and sewed Velcro to close them back up over her, so I would give her some coverage or privacy during her recovery, because she is potty trained and sitting there for those who don't know, a bilateral cast also has a bar in between to set the hips in place, so you can't pull anything up through the leg. So she's basically like spread eagle with casts on and exposed. So it was definitely something that I felt would change her recovery, and just people coming in and out constantly and having to check her incisions and just the whole process for her. And it was just very important to me to make it as pleasant as I could under such a horrible circumstance.
Right. That
was kind of the inspiration behind what started Befree, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And Joanne and I have been friends for 6-7 years now, and she was over visiting, and we were talking about how Stella had worn the pants to one of her appointments, and her surgeon was blown away by them and basically was like, Nikki, you need to make these, so many families would benefit from them. And I happened to share that with Joanne and showed her the pants, and she kind of couldn't believe it. I'll let you take over and talk about your side.
I was so struck by the simplicity of the design and the fact that something like that didn't exist, that there was truly nothing out there that you could buy to wear for a recovery like that. And we figured if the doctors and nurses at Boston Children's hadn't heard of anything, pretty much, meaning it really didn't exist. So I grew up with my mother had been sewing all her life, and I thought, well, wow, she can, make a couple of these pairs. They're pretty simple. The idea that they open on the outer seam. So she did, and she made a few pairs for Stella, and Stella kept wearing them. And then when she wore them, other people saw them, and just, it seems like you always know somebody who's going through some type of injury, recovery, or has some sort of a condition that can limit mobility. So as time went on, we just kept finding people that we could send them to, and everyone who tried them thought that they were amazing.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Just in talking one day, we were like, you know what? Maybe we really should
just
make
go
these.
For it. Yeah.
So we did. We took the big leap. We decided to actually form a company, and we found a local manufacturer, and we made a small production run, and then continued focus groups and product testing for a good while after that, and redesigned them a few times, and now are confident we have a really nice product out there and a website.
And it's patented.
And we got a design patent.
Oh, yes. So important.
Right? Yep.
So important. So did you guys have business experience before this, or was this just a brand new journey for you?
Pretty new for both of us, I will say. I mean, I've been in project management and have been working as an independent contractor and remotely from home since my daughter was born 12 years ago. So I was also sort of out of just the whole corporate business world for a long time.
Okay. So I started a nonprofit a few years ago called Stepping Stones for Stella, obviously inspired again by Stella.
Mm-hmm.
My father, who was a retired engineer, basically came up with this concept of a beach buggy, which at the time Stella was 3.5, and he basically geared it towards her wheelchair and her size and certain height. And it basically allowed us to get Stella down to the beach without going over basically any types of terrain. And it was just such a game changer that I decided to make it a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit. And so that was my first real true experience starting my own company, had board members. Now I have a manufacturer and I run that.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Cool. And then do you feel like so what were some of the things? So you had you had a little bit of background experience, so project management, and you also had the experience of having stepping stones with Stella under your belt. Were there any fears that you were experiencing or facing when you pulled the trigger on starting Befree?
Yeah. I mean, I think, partly we knew we had a good product, but I think a lot of the times whenever we would have someone test it or try them out, I think sometimes we'd just be afraid that they would say, oh, these are terrible. They didn't help, I wouldn't spend the money on something like that. And, but we've never heard that. I mean, we've generally heard a lot of positive feedback, but I think that sometimes we just get a little nervous thinking that, we forget that we know we have a really good product.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you guys mentioned a couple of things, right? So you have a very strong why. I don't know if you've ever read that book by Simon Sinek. It's called, what is it called? Start with Your Why. It's a really good book. If you ever get a chance to listen to it on Audible or read it. Basically, it talks about what is it that drives companies towards success, and part of it, and what helps you to really develop a culture for your company and to really have great success in a company. The difference between like an Apple and an IBM, for example, is really the why. Like, what is the thing that's driving the driving force? And it sounds, listening to you all, that you have a very strong and compelling why. And so even in those moments, because I'm sure you've experienced this already as an entrepreneur, there are those moments when you have the not so happy times when things are not going as planned and you have to do a quick course correct, or you have to do some kind of modification in your business, and you have a pretty strong why that's going to get you through those tough times. So that's so encouraging, because not a lot of companies have that. And so I definitely applaud you ladies for all of the hard work that you've done and for the amazing company that you've built so far. And super excited to see the trajectory of your company and how much more success you're going to have. But the other good thing that you also have is you have hit a pain point. So you used your own pain point, which is, not wanting to see your baby girl having to be uncomfortable as she goes through this time in her life. But then you're realizing that you're not alone, that there are so many others who are experiencing the same thing. So, if you don't mind, do you mind speaking to what was Stella's reaction to the development of this and how this has gone for her?
Yeah, I think it's been fun for her, to be honest. I think, she's been very much part of our marketing, like our fashion shows. There's her sister as well, and as well as Joanne's daughter as well. We've really incorporated all of them. But for Stella, I think it's been nice for her to see other kids and adults actually using the pants and seeing almost that she's not alone. She struggles a lot with some identity stuff right now, especially her age. And I think being part of these events or even our business, and it just gives her some sort of inclusion. She's included in a group, and it makes her feel really proud, honestly.
Has she applied for any positions in the company yet?
She's she bosses us around a lot. We can say that.
Awesome. That's so great. And the thing that I noticed was you have a couple of clients that actually had like surgery, I guess, and they had casts on their legs. So they are like athletes and they had, an injury and had to have the pants were very helpful. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Sure. So we found that there's a wide range of people that this has helped. One of our first people who tried them out as an adult was a husband of a friend who had back surgery, which that was something a little bit unexpected because, the whole goal was for someone who had, a cast on a leg or something to that effect. But his wife was a nurse practitioner, and she said that they were invaluable because with his back surgery, he was just a bit unsteady on his feet. So even getting him dressed, just the idea that he didn't have to shift his weight from one leg to the other to get the pant leg up one leg or the other, that she could lie them down, he could lie on the bed, she could zip them up. And she was a nurse practitioner, and she said she had so much anxiety around getting him dressed that the pants made his recovery and her recovery, so much easier. So we had that. We had children who had a surgery similar to Stella's, hip surgery. One very sweet little boy in Arizona who it was right before Christmas actually, and his parents were so sad because he refused to leave the house and he wouldn't go to a Christmas party and they were having a hard time. And after he got the pants, it was fine. And they went to this Christmas party and they were just so thrilled.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And we've had a couple of kids like a sports injury and surgery on a leg or an ankle. And that's been great too, because you don't have to cut off your jeans or your sweatpants or whatever to fit the pants over the cast. So and now we're finding too, we're just starting to explore assisted living facilities and a lot of there's elderly residents who require assistance getting dressed. So that's another market that we're looking into now.
Oh wow, yeah, no, that sounds great. That sounds like a good expansion of your clientele. Absolutely. Wow. And then so logistically speaking, like how have you had any bumps in the road in that regard, or like as far as getting the manufacturing done, getting the patent approved, those kinds of things?
Yeah, a few. And we're still working through some right now. Yeah. When we first started, our goal was we really did want to keep the manufacturing in the US. And we did do that. We do have a local manufacturer. But we're trying to expand our product line into new fabrics and a couple new styles. And so for that, we might need to explore a different manufacturer. And that's been a little tough because we're still small.
Right.
So we started out with a new manufacturer. And again, we do really want to stay local for several reasons, but just trying to balance out the cost of a local manufacturer given our small quantities. And so we're trying to figure all that out, but we've made a lot of progress, and I think that soon we'll be pretty settled and be ready to start a new production run in the next couple months.
Awesome! That's so inspiring. You guys are awesome. Oh my gosh! Did you find that there was so we talked about manufacturing, we talked about the origin of the company. What about the marketing side? Like, how is that going? Are you encountering any roadblocks there, or are there any things you have to overcome to get that kind of jump started?
Well, so we last spring joined an incubator in Boston, Mass Challenge.
Okay.
Hadn't really promoted ourselves up to that point. We had just sort of finalized our current design with some input from a nursing director at Mass General. And so with that production run that we did, it was last April or May, we figured we had our final product, but we hadn't done any marketing yet really or business strategy. And this is sort of where we didn't have the experience of doing all that. So the Mass Challenge program really, really helped us. But at the same time, we're small, we're bootstrapping. So we're putting together, a new website, paying the manufacturer, applying for a patent. So our resources were sort of spread a little bit thin. And so our marketing and advertising, we haven't quite done that push yet. But we are in the process of redesigning our website, which we hope will launch within the next 1 to 2 months. And then once we have that, I think we're really going to target some advertising and promotional on social media a lot.
Okay.
And then I think that's where we're hoping we're really going to take off.
Okay. And then what about, just throwing something out there, what about organizations? So you mentioned that you have been pretty active with your own organization in regard to Stella, but what about like national organizations for CP or for pediatric organizations, things like that? Have you reached out to any of those at this point?
Yeah, what was that? The product review. Oh yeah, we did. So United Cerebral Palsy, we actually we're pretty well, I guess we're involved with their organization. We've participated in a lot of their walks and stuff like that in the past and raised some money for them. And, but they also did, was it your UCP? Your CPF, did a product review for us on our pants.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and so they did, and then Stella's actually the kid that this kid inspires face of Boston Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And so they did a interview with us last fall or December or something, and so so we've had a lot of interest, I guess, from organizations that are out there and have been supportive. You know, everything's been very positive and really helpful in the fact of just helping us. Like our product is in Children's Hospital. So it's been great that way.
Awesome. Yeah. Now that'd be good to kind of get the word out. I've been kind of talking about you guys to my colleagues, so hoping that will spread as well. I have a couple of orthopedic colleagues and pediatrics, so I know that they have patients who would benefit from the pants for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And then, so the other thing is, so now we're at a point where things are kind of moving at a nice little clip here, and you guys are about to really take off. I know it because I can tell. Do you have any fears about that? Do you have fear about actually having success?
Well, that's an interesting question.
I know.
I say yes and no in a way, you know, because right now it's Joanne and I, or this is my feeling around it, and we know each other so well, but eventually we're going to have to expand and grow and bring in other personalities, and you know, that can be a little intimidating and scary, even though it's such a positive thing at the same time. But you know, and it's all kind of trial and error too, you know, so that can be a little scary, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I wouldn't, I guess at first I was going to say no, and then but you're right. When you talk about it that way, and then you kind of give up a little control, I think, once you start to expand and bring other people in, and we won't be as hands-on in everything as we are right now. Yeah. So yeah, that does, I guess, cause a little bit of fear in there.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys feel like you have a very strong, what do you call these now? So kind of like ethics of the company, or it's not an ethics, it's I don't know, you know what I'm thinking, maybe? Where you have like the ethos, I guess, of the company, or you have like, you know, something that even if you scale up, the essence of it will remain the same. Have you guys thought about that, or do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I think we do, because we already formed a foundation part of our company before we even have the means to do anything really with it. But we knew that we wanted part of our company to start donating and supporting other organizations as soon as we could. And so I think that's certainly our goal is, you know, once we reach a certain level that we can do that. That's one of the first things we want to do. But also I think just even where we are now, and no matter how big we get, one thing we've always put a lot of thought into is our pricing. And we've definitely been willing to sacrifice some part on our end to keep the price contained, even though we are local production and our quantities are small, because we just feel like this is an item that we want to get to people, and we don't want the price to be prohibitive in any way. So we can't be totally driven by, you know, the idea that profit at all. It's more about obviously being successful, and we want our business to succeed, and we do need to be profitable for that. But we really do want our product to get to the people that will benefit from it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And, we know that a lot of people that use them are dealing with so many other things that, you know what I mean? We want to make it easy for them to get and not for it to be a financial burden on top of everything else.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Awesome on all accounts. Oh my. Do you guys, is there any, so we're gonna, obviously everything is gonna turn out fabulous, right? We're gonna get the marketing down. We're gonna like blow up. We're going to have to upscale between like up, what is it called, upscale, or is it upregulate, or up, I don't know, whatever, increase the manufacturing amounts and get bigger.
Keep up with,
What is it called? What's it called?
They just won't be able to keep up with us. I don't know.
There you go. That's it, right?
Exploding.
Exactly. And then, so you've already kind of like thought about future infrastructure once you do that, which is huge. And then, so now, do you feel like there are any things that you are, as a, on a personal level, that you're working with in regard to fear? And it sounds like you guys didn't really even think about the fear of success, which I think is interesting, because a lot of times when we're entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily think about that, but it's definitely something that can happen and will happen and can sometimes take us by surprise when it does. Do you guys have anything that you're personally working on in regard to facing a fear at this point?
Well, from my angle, Stella has a lot of medical issues and health issues, and so my fear for her is constant, I have to say, to be honest. We just recently had a doctor's appointment where she might have to go back in for another hip surgery and face some challenges. So I think, it impacts my family, and my other daughter gets impacted by that because a lot of times the hospital stays are long and the recovery is long. So I feel like, that's probably one of my heaviest and most fearful things that I face a lot, managing it. You always focus on the positive, and look at how the outcome of these surgeries help her, and you'll get through the moment, you always can get through it. But that's me, that's kind of my life, but I think that's the heaviest thing for me, probably the most fearful right now.
Joanne, what about you?
I probably just, in a personal level, something I think I've always dealt with, and probably most people do, is just a fear of failing, or what if this doesn't work out, and we put a couple more years into it and some more resources financially. But I think, the more we do this, that I know that our experience and has been so invaluable that I'm now comfortable with it, I think. Whereas, it won't, but what if, if this doesn't work out, it wouldn't be a failure, because it was just a really incredible experience. And I have learned so much that it's been great. So I think I'm dealing with that well now, but it was more so in the beginning, wondering if this was the right thing to do, and shouldn't I be, going and having a 9-to-5 job and not worrying about, how we're going to make money.
Fair enough. Wow. Thank you, ladies, for sharing that, because I know that's a pretty personal thing to share. So I definitely appreciate your openness. All right. So you guys, and I'm going to let the audience know this was your first podcast. You did fabulous. Okay. So let's just get that off the table. So a tradition on this podcast is we do a fill in the blank. Okay. So I believe you may have gotten the questions beforehand. But the first fill in the blank is: fearless freedom means
strength and confidence.
Strength and confidence. Awesome. And then, if I am fearless, I will
not be afraid to fail.
Awesome. And last but not least, my battle cry is
say yes.
What is it? Say it one more time.
Say yes.
Say yes. Awesome. Yay. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We really enjoyed it. And definitely everybody is going to take a listen, and we'll be checking out your website and amplifying your voice, because we want to see you succeed.
Thank you
so much, ladies.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you for joining us today on this journey. Fear is all around us. It strives to stop us from achieving our greatness. We have the tools to be overcomers. By sharing our stories, supporting each other, and doing self-reflection, we can do this. If you found value in this conversation today, please be sure to subscribe to and share this podcast with your friends. By going to your favorite podcast platform, leaving a review and a 5-star rating, you will help to get the word out about it. And that is much appreciated. Thanks again for spending time with us. I appreciate your time and your attention. It is my hope that you will punch fear in the face today and that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.